Okay, we're back again here in the glass bead game. I'm moving on with John Paul Sartre. I'm jumping to chapter 2, his discussion titled Temporality. Phenomenology of the three temporal dimensions. Temporality is evidently an organized structure. The three so-called elements of time, past, present, and future should not be considered as a collection of givens for us to sum up. For example, as an infinite series of nows in which some are not yet and others are no longer, but rather as the structured moments of an organized synthesis. Otherwise, we will immediately meet with this paradox. The past is no longer, the future is not yet. As for the instantaneous present, everyone knows that this does not exist at all, but is the limit of an infinite division, like a point without dimension. Thus the whole series is annihilated, and doubly so since the future now, for example, is a nothingness qua future and will be realized in nothingness when it passes on to the state of a present now. The only possible method by which to study temporality is to approach it as a totality which dominates its secondary structures and which confers on them their meaning. We will never lose sight of this fact. Nevertheless, we cannot launch into an examination of the being of time without a preliminary clarification of the too often obscure meaning of the three dimensions by means of pre-ontological phenomenological description. We must, however, consider this phenomenological description as merely a provisional work whose goal is only to enable us to attain an intuition of temporality as a whole. In particular, our description must enable us to see each dimension appear on the foundation of temporal totality without our ever forgetting the, and I can't read that word, German word, of that dimension. The past. Every theory concerning memory implies the presupposition of the being of the past. These presuppositions, which have never been elucidated, have obscured the problem of memory and that of temporality in general. Once and for all, we must raise the question, what is the being of a past being? Common opinion facilitates between two equally vague conceptions. The past, it is said, is no longer. From this point of view, it seems that being is to be attributed to the present alone. This ontological presupposition has engendered the famous theory of cerebral impressions. Since the past is no more, since it has melted away into nothingness, if the memory continues to exist, it must be by virtue of a present modification of our being. For example, this will be an imprint at present stamped on a group of cerebral cells. Thus everything is present, the body, the present perception, and the past, as a present impression in the body. All is actuality. For the impression does not have a virtual existence, qua memory, it is altogether an actual impression. If the memory is reborn, it is in the present as the result of a present process, as a rupture in the protoplasmic equilibrium in the cellular group under consideration. Psychophysiological parallelism, which is instantaneous and extratemporal, is there to explain how this physiological process is the correlate of the phenomenon strictly psychic but equally present, the appearance of the memory image in consciousness. The more recent idea of an engram adds nothing except that it cloaks the theory in a pseudo-scientific terminology. But if everything is present, how are we to explain the passivity of the memory? That is, the fact that in its intention, a consciousness which remembers transcends the present, in order to aim at the event back there where it was. I have shown elsewhere that there is no way of distinguishing the image from perception if we begin by making the image a renaissance perception. We shall meet the same impossibilities here, but in addition, we thus remove the method of distinguishing the memory from the image. Neither the feebleness of the memory, nor its pallor, nor its incompleteness, nor the contradictions it shows with the givens of perception can distinguish it from a fiction image, since it offers the same characteristics. Furthermore, since these characteristics are present qualities of the memory, they cannot enable us to get out of the present in order to direct ourselves towards the past. In vain we will invoke the memory's quality of belonging to me, its mineness following its intimacy according to James. Either these characteristics manifest only a present atmosphere which envelops the memory, and then they remain present and refer to the present, or else they are already a relation to the past as such, and then they presuppose what they must explain. Some scholars have believed that they might easily get rid of the problem by reducing memory to an implied pattern of localization, and this is to an ensemble of intellectual operations facilitated by the existence of social contexts of memory. No doubt these operations exist and ought to be the object of psychological investigation, but if the relation to the past is not given in some manner, these operations cannot create it. In a word, if we begin by isolating man on the instantaneous island of his present, and if all of his modes of being, as soon as they appear, are destined by nature to a perpetual present, we have radically removed all method of understanding his relation to the past. We shall not succeed in constituting the dimension past out of elements borrowed exclusively from the present, any more than geneticists have succeeded in constituting extension from unextended elements. Popular consciousness has so much trouble in refusing a real existence to the past that alongside the thesis just discussed it admits another conception equally unprecise, according to which the past would have a kind of honorary existence. Being past for an event would mean simply being retired, losing its efficacy without losing its being. Bergson's philosophy had made use of this idea. On going into the past, an event does not cease to be, it merely ceases to act and remains in its place at its date for eternity. In this way, being has been restored to the past, and it is very well done. We even affirm that duration is a multiplicity of interpretation, that the past is continually organized with the present. But for all that, we have not provided any reason for this organization and this interpenetration. We have not explained how the past can be reborn to haunt us, in short, to exist for us.